It was dark outside. It was snowy and windy. And in a department store, a security guard whistled. He decided to go check all the windows to make sure they were secured because, oh yeah, 40 minutes, closing time. The oval-shaped 30-year-old was excited that his late shift was almost over. It was Christmas Eve, and he was ready to go home to spend the time with his family. This security guard was cordial and friendly to all the customers. Nice to meet you. Wishing them a Merry Christmas. And as he was doing his rounds, his brown hair, brown eyes, he had little eyes that lit up and showed everybody who met him that he was friendly. And he showed everyone the respect they deserved. And he spoke. And he had that face that people could trust it. John Cranston looked down at his rather large wristwatch just to make sure that it was getting closer to locking up the store, and decided that he would go to the security office and check the cameras to make sure everything was okay. The holiday was a great time for John, as he spent time with his young children and his wife of 7 years. The only part of the holiday he disliked was the way people would come to the store with greedy and rude attitudes, and throwing even dirtier attitudes when they didn't get their way. As John got back to his office, he heard the phone ring. "Fitzer Security, Cranston speaking," he answered. "Is this John Cranston?" the mysterious voice asked. "Yes, sir, it is. How can I help you?" "Mr. Cranston, this is Officer Miller with the police. I have some bad news for you." John's stomach dropped to the floor like a chandelier crashing down. He started to feel the world to spin as he asked, "Are my wife and kids okay?" Yes, John did know. Deep down inside he knew something had happened. Officer Miller replied, "I'm afraid that your wife and kids were killed in an accident involving a drunk driver. We need you to come down to the morgue and identify the bodies." I'm sorry that I had to give you this news. As John approached the officer, his manager, his face said everything the manager needed to know as he stormed out into the cold, got in his car, and met Officer Miller at the morgue. When John saw the face of his beautiful wife, with her golden blonde hair and the sweet innocence of the cherub-like faces of his children, his heart and soul had been ripped from his body, tearing apart and shattering like glass. That was then he broke down and cried. John felt his life had just ended with the realization that his family was gone. 2 weeks later, the funeral was filled by the friends and family of the grieving widower. John couldn't feel anything because his body and soul felt numb. He tried to smile at the people who gave their condolences, but he could barely see through his red-streaked eyes, and the tears had frozen to his face like dew falling in the early morning of winter. John's life was forever changed.